Good afternoon, Daniel. Good to see you. Thank you. That's all. You win. You will. Okay. Or at least you win against me. Good afternoon, Nikaya. Good to see you. This is great. I almost forgot it was going to be like this, but not really. Oh, wait. Okay. More people. I will do that more. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. I'm going to start again. And we got some. Oh, good. We've got some people with pictures, with video. This is great. This is great. Okay. I'm going to start again. And for the, so good afternoon, everybody. By the way, oh, more people coming. All right, hold on. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Professor Yaverbaum. Good afternoon, Daniel. Hello, Ashley. Good afternoon, Nikaya. Good afternoon, Alyssa. Good afternoon, Darina. Oh, this is like deja vu in such a good way, or for me anyway. Good afternoon, Camilla. Okay. Good afternoon, Yun. And by the way, good afternoon, Amaran. Oh, I did it wrong. Wait. Am I doing it wrong? Oh, did I? Good afternoon, Amarani. But no, I'm doing it wrong.
Amarani.
Amarani. I knew I was doing it wrong. Sorry. Yes, Amarani. Darn it. I'm going to change my name to Yaverbaum just to compensate. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. So listen, I mean, there's some people in this room that I know, and there are some people in this room that I don't. If you happen to notice that it seems like I know some people, like that. So a number of people in this room have taken Physics 203 recently with me. That's why I know them. There are some people in this room that have not. It's all good. We're all going to get to know each other no matter what. Nobody has necessarily, I'm looking forward to getting to know everybody, but indeed, I have seen some of these people before, and it was a pleasure in my life. And I owe them an apology too, but we'll get to that. So let me also say then, hello or good afternoon, Jerry. Hello, Boao. Hello, Ash. No, I said hello, Jenna, and also everybody, including people that I've met before. Please, when I'm mispronouncing your name, please today, either with your voice or with public chat or with private direct chat, please correct my pronunciation. I do want to get to know you people, and I do want this to be a class, and I do want to use names, and I want to use them correctly. And if I said, so hello, Sam, if I didn't say, hello, Yorgelis, if I didn't say, or Yorgelis, I'm sorry. Hello, hello, excellent, thank you. Who else? Okay, I think that's everybody. I think maybe I'm not pronouncing Boao's name right. Please let me know. I think maybe I'm, well, all right. Okay, but there are a lot of people in this. All right, so this is Physics 2. Oh, or more people. Wait a minute. No. Okay. It is correct. Great, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, thank you for letting me know. Okay, good. And again, I'm Yaverbaum. That's very easy to say in weird. It rhymes with cadaver town for those of you who are like forensic science majors or who are someday looking to work for a, what do they call it? Oh my God, a coroner's office. Yaverbaum rhymes with cadaver town for what it's worth. And I've mentioned this to some of you before. Yaverbaum is an unusual name. To this point, in my 50 years of living on this planet thus far, anytime I've ever met or heard of any Yaverbaum at all in the world, they are related to me in a way that I know. And that's before 23andMe. Like, I've never met any Yaverbaum that isn't in my family. Like, that tells you something. It tells you that people in my family actually intermarried, which is true. I mean, intra-married, which is also true, but a story for another time. Explains a lot about me. That's true. Okay, and I hope, and hello, Lynn. If I'm saying your name correctly, please let me know. Oh, interesting. Okay, and I'm not. You notice I didn't try to say your last name, but okay, that's interesting. So that we've all got something in common. And yes, I'll admit I am correct. Okay, great. Thank you. And you're going to see, by the way, those of you who are putting anything in the chat right now, even in this casual conversation about our names, you're going to see, as some other people already know, I appreciate it on a human level that you're doing that, but also you're actually going to get points for class participation, for the fact that you did that. Those of you who ever put anything in the chat, if it's not a big deal, you might even want to get into a habit of occasionally screenshotting anything you put in the chat, because you're going to see that you can submit that for points, and it can be as casual as saying hello. You don't have to screenshot, but it can help sometimes. I'm going to talk about that today, but trust me, anything you're saying or any way in which people are participating, you're actually getting points for. You're also getting karmic points for, I feel, in the universe, but that's neither here nor there, or it's both there, here, and everywhere. Yes, I'll admit, okay, just as long as we're on this topic, let's see. So my father's name is Yavram. His father was Yavram. His father, I mean, my grandfather had a, wait, is this really right? Do I have this right? Can this be right? Yeah, I mean, when I'm about to say this, but it's kind of embarrassing to say when I put it this way. My grandfather's sister was named Celia Yaverbaum. And here's the crazy thing. Her name was Celia Yaverbaum because she was my paternal grandfather's sister. So my father's sister was named, and obviously she's no longer living. Well, maybe that's not obvious, but she's no longer living, but her name was Celia Yaverbaum. And the crazy thing is that her name was Celia Yaverbaum before she got married, right? Because she was the sister of Arnold Yaverbaum. But her name was also Celia Yaverbaum after she got married, because she married her cousin, whose name was Yaverbaum. And that's not something we do these days. And it's probably not something we should have done then. But that will explain a lot about my personality, maybe, when you get to know. Yeah, oh no, is right. Now, truth told, I'm not sure that it was her first cousin, but it definitely was her cousin. Yeah, sorry. Yes, we, right, yikes. Okay, well, at least clearly you're all listening. And by the way, oh, good. Okay. By the way, I should also say right now, here's the crazy thing about what I just said. And I hope my father's not listening, although he would not be able to deny it. Even everything I just said was just recorded. Okay. And will be posted on YouTube. We'll talk about that too. For those of you who don't know, all of these class. Okay. And I don't say this to discourage participation. I say it to encourage, but also just to, when the thing said at the beginning, we're recording. I mean, that's true. Every single class we have, and the people that took 203 before can hopefully verify this, every single class we have will, in a few hours after we finish the class, will be, encoded and uploaded to YouTube, to my YouTube channel. I mean, the world doesn't care, obviously. The world does not pay attention to these things, and you shouldn't worry about what you're saying in class. Nobody wants to watch physics classes, but except for us, right? I mean, for exam purposes, or if you miss a class, or if you miss a half hour of a class, or if you just if it just went too fast or whatever, which today won't, but some classes might. Every single class, so I'm going to be haphazard today. Today is of all of us getting to know the procedures and expectations of this class. Again, for anybody who had me before or took 203, they are very, very, very similar to that. There shouldn't be any major surprises, except that it's actually more organized, not less. That will be a surprise to some of you. And you will get your midterms back. We'll talk about that. I mean, your 204 midterms. But what I'm trying to say is that, just so you all know, every single class will be posted to YouTube in a playlist that already exists called jjP204 Fall 21. And every time a class uploads, then you'll get notification in your Google Classroom, and you'll get a link there. We're going to talk about Google Classroom in a minute. I want to thank you. I know a ton of you have already joined it. Great. We'll look at it together, but you'll see there's a category for YouTube links. Right now, the only link in there is the channel itself. But every single one of these classes will go up on YouTube for your perusal, for your use when you're studying for exams, when you're doing homework. You also can go back and look at the old, former semester classes, if that helps at all. So the good news is it's all there. As we accumulate, you can always rewind. And of course, I don't think anybody finds them entertaining enough to watch, but for reference, you can re-scroll and re-watch certain parts that you missed. That's the good news, I think. The bad news is I will hold you responsible. That is, if you do miss a class, if you have to miss a class, or you miss a half hour because you're dealing with your children or your job or COVID, all of that is understood. And I don't, despite what the syllabus says, I don't take attendance or anything like that. You're all adults. I trust you to make the judgments you have to make. But if you do miss class, I'll still expect that then you'll just watch the video and you'll still get the class material. And you'll still be able to do the homework. And if you have questions about things, you'll watch the video before you ask me, blah, blah, blah. So every one of these classes will go up on YouTube. I'm starting tonight. Also, just so you know, you see I have a whiteboard here that right now is just like telling us the time, but this whiteboard, the screen share, is my whiteboard that I do use to solve the problems that we solve together, go over the homework, help with the homework, whatever it is we do here. I use it like a standard whiteboard. It usually, once we get rolling, it'll accumulate an average of like 15 to 16 pages, sometimes 22 a class period. That is all bundled into a PDF that gets sent to your Google Classroom immediately after class. There's a category in Google Classroom in the section called classwork that says class notes. That you don't see the category right now because there's nothing in it yet, but it exists. And as of today, there won't be very many notes today at all. It's just like 2 pages and it's just about grading, but it'll get dropped there. So this is just as a warm up to tell you all, or to remind people, after every class, you'll immediately get all the notes that I took. A few hours later, you'll get a YouTube of the whole thing. I hope that doesn't discourage you from talking or from showing video or whatever, but it's reality. All of this goes to Google Classroom. So if you didn't join yet, I'm going to help you with that in a second. Oh, wow. Okay, thank you. That's so nice. I'm looking at the chat. I'm going to thank you. Even if you're lying, thank you for lying politely. So yeah, so all of that will happen today. Mostly we're going to talk about like how to do the first homework, which is due next Monday, and how the grading works and all of that. Again, many people in the room I kind of know from last semester, they kind of know how things work, but certain things did not work well. Like I failed in certain areas last semester, just so that those of you, like, I want to publicly acknowledge right now to anybody who does know me from the spring semester and anybody who doesn't, certain things about this class are fairly organized. I like to think, or have been fairly. We all try very hard. I think people got good grades, hopefully last semester. But I'm going to say, we're going to talk about the midterm and the final today. I'm going to say publicly right now, I totally failed in a big way. Last semester, I got into a soup and I never returned these students' midterms from last semester. Total failure on my part. Inexcusable. And I'm not being sarcastic. They were very forgiving. Those of you in the room that had me in the spring, you were very forgiving. You were very kind about the whole thing. You were very patient and flexible, and you kept the faith and you took your final anyway. And most of the grades worked out. But that was bad. So I want to acknowledge right now, that was bad. That only happened in this class. It didn't happen in the other classes during the spring. I don't know why it happened in this class, but I can tell you right now that I taught in the summer afterwards. So 204. So some of the people that were in that group had me for 204 this summer. And they could tell you, and I'm just saying this to assure people, I definitely got those midterms back and the finals and the grading was much more organized last summer semester than it was in the spring. A lot of situations were repaired in the background. They definitely got their midterms back. They didn't love their grades, to tell you the truth. Some of them wish they didn't get it back, but they did. They also got a grading sheet that told them all the grading breakdown and everything before they even took the final. So they knew exactly what was going on before they took the final. Like they knew exactly what they had to get in order to get a certain grade. I'm telling that to everybody right now to publicly acknowledge one failure of this class last semester was the grading fell. All the homeworks and stuff came back, but the grading fell apart on the midterm. And again, I want to get this out of the way to apologize again, to admit that it happened, and to tell everybody that won't happen. In particular, cannot happen. My first priority is if it's going to happen anywhere, it ain't going to happen in this class, because I don't want it to happen to any students twice. So when we get to talking about midterm and final stuff, believe me, midterm back, and you'll get it in time to know what to do for the final and all of that. So that's like the one thing I want to get out of the way. Okay, but anyway, more people are coming. Hang on a second. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk more as a group today. We're not going to do heavy physics today. It's more like welcome to the machine. In fact, speaking of that, now I'll also say, you'll see soon, I don't ever like to shame or punish anybody for any lack of participation. I don't ever point out if someone's not here or something, or if someone's not talking. But the more anybody talks or shows video like of themselves whenever they feel like it, whenever they can, or wait, I did just make a pink flip. I'm sure I did just make a Pink Floyd reference, but I just missed it. Wait, did I say Dark Side of the? Did I say Comfortably Numb? What did I say actually? Wait, what was the Pink Floyd? Wait. Oh yeah. Of course, right. Yes, Welcome to the Machine. You know, I have to say, who just pointed that out? Wait a minute. Sorry. Okay. By the way, hello Camilla. That totally counts as class participation. You should screenshot that. You'll see that totally counts. And let me say, at least to you, since you seem to get that. If anybody else, I have to say, growing up, I love that album so much. Wish You Were Here. But I always felt like the one weakness of the album was the Welcome to the Machine song. I always thought everything else on the album, like Have a Cigar, the super long thing that has two parts. It begins the album and then, oh, Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Oh, really? I guess I probably like it now. I'm just saying as a kid, that part, and it's crazy intelligent, that song for sure. It's something about it was just too dark for me or something as a kid, but I love Shine On You Crazy Diamond and Have a Cigar and Wish You Were Here. Anyway, okay, but yeah, Have a Cigar is great. Okay, well, okay, good time. I'm glad people still like Pink Floyd. I didn't know that was the case. That's fantastic. And you know, I'm not going to get into this. I mean, Dark Side of the Moon is such like a physics. Oh, okay. I'm going to say this one thing. Okay, this is ridiculous, and we have to get back to physics. But as long as, and I apologize to anybody who doesn't care about Pink Floyd. Why should you? There will also be a lot of Mario references probably in this class, and I apologize to people who don't care about Mario. Mario, or like Nintendo games. That was a discovery of late in my life, so I'm compensating now. But whatever. One thing about. I am a believer. I will just say this. I know this is a complete giveaway. Oh yeah, the Walter. Well, I basically learned how to play video games from the Walters. I mean, I did through my two sons, but oh yeah, I mean they're great. Oh my God, are they gamers? Well, particularly Mr. Walters in particular. Oh my God. But yeah, they're big on Nintendo. But I think we're gonna get back. I really believe in it. I have two children, okay, and I understand why you're supposed to be careful about them like playing too many video game stuff. But I honestly think that the people that design at least Nintendo games, I think the game designers, even the worst game designer, does a better job creating curriculum than most teachers and school administrators that I've ever met. I think they are better educated. Now, granted, there's a question of what are they educating us as to? Like, you could possibly argue that they're only teaching us how to play their games. I don't actually believe that, but you could argue that. But I think they're doing a better job teaching us how to play their games than most of us are teaching you how to do science. Like, I really do believe that. But yeah, okay, there you go. There you go. All right. Stereo. Okay, wow, sweet. No, I everything in moderation. Like, too much of anything is a bad thing, including too much physics, too much school, too much exams. But video games themselves, I am not anti. I mean, I was until I stopped being ignorant. I mean, I think the people that make the games are brilliant. I mean, literally brilliant. I mean, but anyway, like just the whole idea that you don't need an instruction manual to learn how to play a game, like that's like a class where you don't need a textbook. Oh, speaking of which, okay, so you don't need a textbook for this class. Okay, moving on. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, and I do believe in putting on the Dark Side of the Moon album while having Wizard of Oz on the TV with the sound off, as long as, I don't know if it works with MP3s, but with the CD of Dark Side of the Moon, as long as you wait until the third roar of the MGM line and then unpause the CD, then it totally works. I totally believe it. I'm not saying it was intentional on their part, but it's totally worthy experience. Okay, Zelda. Yeah, no, Zelda rocks. Okay, I'm getting off the topic here. I did miss this class. Okay, and again, if you're new to this class, if you don't know me, everything will be clear. Noted. It will all be clear. It will become clear. In the class, there's one midterm, there's one exam, there's a whole lab component, which is on I think it was last night, or some night of the week, you'll remind me. We're going to talk about how the grading works in a moment. But first thing, let me pause for a second, and we're going to talk about how class participation works. But let me pause for a second and say, so wait, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 16. No, 14. There's 14 of you here. Bear with me for a second. It's 14. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, fantastic. Wait. So, all right. It looks, this is great. First of all, the fact you're all here means you got the correct Zoom link. It means you got my email. It means we're already in good communication. It means we're already both doing the right thing. I should clarify to everybody, whether new or old. Right. So this Zoom link is the correct link for every Tuesday and Thursday at 12:15. Like whether the schedule says lec or rec, lecture or recitation makes no difference. They're one and the same. Either, as far as physics is concerned, it's a pure registrar thing that they call one of these sections a recitation, and they call the other lecture. That is totally in the registrar's head. We don't actually technically have a recitation because we don't have extra time. We just have our 2 75-minute periods a week plus our lab. So every Tuesday at 12:15, you come to this Zoom link, you'll have me. Every Thursday at 12:15, you come to this Zoom link, you'll have me. It is also, regardless of what the schedule says, I mean, unless I tell you in advance that I can't be here or something, it is synchronized for all intents and purposes. Like we meet as a class twice a week. We try to be as much of a class as we can twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12:15 here. I'm just clarifying that for anybody who is new or doesn't know or has other situations in other classes. Now I want to say specifically thank you to the following people. It might even be everybody in the room, but thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Nikaya. Thank you, Zhang. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Yoon. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Yorgelis. Thank you, Daniel. If you're wrong, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Amarani. Yeah, of course it's Amarani. I'm so, yeah, okay. Thank you, Darina. Thank you, Camilla. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Lynn. If I said thank you to you, that's because I'm noting that you totally did join the Google Classroom link like I asked, which I appreciate. You did it even before class started. Thank you. B, that's the right thing. Like from here on in, everything is through Google Classroom. All of our communication, all the work that I assign you, all the work that you submit, all the grading, everything comes through Google Classroom. All your final grades will come out of like if you don't exist in Google Classroom, you're being thanked. Yes, you're being thanked for joining the Google Classroom. Like if I mentioned your name, that means you did it. And it means I know you did it. It means we're good to go. It might even mean that you might want to open it up and look at it for a second while we talk about it for what's in there for a second. Now, I think I might have just mentioned everybody in the room, but just in case I didn't, hold on. But you definitely need to. If you don't know what I'm talking, whether you've ever, and by the way, if you've never used Google Classroom before, like if you never used it in high school or something, joining it was pretty much the hardest part. I mean, it's like any other Google thing. Like you'll get it. It will make sense to you, I think, as long as you are capable of joining it. Just in case you did not join it, you need to please, like right now. So hold on. I do think I just mentioned everybody. So please go to that link like right now and join it if you didn't already. Let me look again. No, I think I just mentioned everybody. Well, or if you didn't, and I'm kind of speaking too fast or you're not following what I'm saying, if you don't know what I'm talking about Google Classroom or you didn't join it, maybe just send me a private chat right now and just say that. But I think it was everybody. But because if not, I'm going to ask you just to open it right now, like on your phone, or and I do recommend getting the app and I do recommend turning on notifications, but open it or on a separate window or whatever, open it. We're just going to go through for a quick second. Like the very first thing and if you open the tab, so if you open Google Classroom and at the top, there's 4 tabs, there's stream, then classwork, then people, then grades, open classwork. I mean, I think this is how it looks on your side. It might look slightly different on my side, but open classwork, that really is the main thing ever to open up. The first category is the Zoom link. That's just there, you know, for obvious reasons, just so you can always get to us easily. Then comes YouTube links. That's what I was saying before. Right now, the only link in there is my channel. That's where all of the YouTubes of this will be posted, including also all past semesters of Physics 204 ever since COVID started. And that's good to know because sometimes we do go fast in this class. We'll talk about that, but the class does get a little bit more abstract and a little bit quicker and a little bit more mathematical, honestly, than Physics 203 did. I mean, the material is harder. Okay. I'm not any harder. The format's not any harder. But the material is harder, or people often find it that way. So it might be useful at times to just note that there are P204 like the summer semester just now, the spring semester before that, the fall before, etc. So you can always, and hopefully all the videos are titled in a clear way. So if ever a topic doesn't make sense to you, even the way we did it in a given day, you might go back and check it out. When we talk about class participation in a moment, you'll also see that one of the ways to get extra points of class participation is by using the YouTube at all, like showing any evidence that you've ever even used one video, even as a resource, or you've checked it out, or subscribed. I certainly don't want to force anybody to subscribe, but that's an easy way to just show that you've used it, and then you get points for that. Okay, anyway, so that's YouTube links. Then I'm scrolling. Oh, I should share my screen. That's what I should do. Why didn't I think of that? Hold on a second. Okay, I don't usually do this, but just for right now, I'm just showing you, I'm just doing this quickly so we're all on the same page. Like under, so, and, of course you're seeing my, well, you're seeing my Google Classroom now. Yours, so there's a lot, that's great. So I have a lot of past stuff here. That the only thing you would see on your end is the stuff that's actually in boldface or pink on my end. You're kind of getting a peek behind the curtains here, but anyway, under YouTube links, then comes tools. So under tools is our syllabus. Okay, our syllabus is there. I don't want to spend a ton of time. I'm not going to read it out loud to you. I don't even know that you need to read it. It's just there as our contractual agreement. You can consult as needed. The highlights of it I'm going to go over today, but just so you know, that's where the syllabus is. And by syllabus, I mean the policies and procedures, which we'll go over the important ones in a moment. But also, if you're interested in like the outline of the topics, knowing what the topics are in advance, which sometimes people are, that's in the back pages of that syllabus. You can also find them out by looking at the YouTube playlist. Then there's a sheet under tools called knowing what to do. Okay, that's for your reference. We'll talk about it. Not today. It's nothing you ever have. It's just it's a sheet to help you. It's tips and tricks for knowing what to do when you don't know what to do, which is a big thing in physics. I might even have given you this sheet in 203, some of you, but I originally made it for 204 because things do get hard in 204 for some people sometimes. And the key in 204 is a lot of times you sit down to do something like homework or an exam problem, and you don't know what to do. And you're like, I have no idea. I don't even know what this question is asking. Like, I have no idea what it even wants me to do. That is a common feeling in physics, in science. It's like, I don't know what to do. And especially it's a common scary feeling for students who are used to being strong students, which all of you are, right? You wouldn't even be in this class if you hadn't already passed through a number of kind of intense academic hurdles. You're used to doing hard things and you're used to doing them well. Obviously, that's to your credit and that's a strength. That's great. It can also, though, be a handicap whenever people that are used to doing well or used to being strong in certain areas are suddenly challenged in kind of a new way, or suddenly asked to do something that they don't already think that they know how to do. It can be very discouraging because the more used to you get to being quickly successful at stuff, the more frustrating and scary it can be to not be instantly successful at something, right? Because if you don't instantly get what to do, you start thinking, uh-oh, this is a real problem. Like, since I usually know what to do, if I don't know what to do here, this either means that this teacher totally stinks and is being unfair, or this material is crazy and doesn't fit my brain, or like, uh-oh, I'm hitting a wall. It doesn't actually have to mean that. It can feel that way. The more successful you get in science and in school, the more you have a chance of hitting new challenges that will really rock your soul and make you think, wait, I don't even know what to do. And there's not always an obvious procedure there to rely on to get you out of it. So, but there are tips and tricks and techniques, and that's actually what we're ultimately here to learn, is to know what to do when you don't know what to do. So that's what that sheet is, and we're not going to go over it now, but it's just, you might want to just pick it up if you ever get stressed out or you're in the middle of something or blah, blah, blah. Wait, chat. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, and we'll talk about that too. And look, again, we'll talk about all of this. Like, I'll just repeat or reemphasize. If you've gotten this far, you've already done some really hard things. And if you've gotten really in your high school life and in your college life, and you also know that if you've gotten this far, if you're already in the second calculus-based required physics class for a forensic science major, and I understand some of you might be tox majors, some of you might be mole bio majors, some of you might be e-permits, but no matter what, all of you are in a major that is hard, that requires you to do a lot of work and do a lot of lab stuff, and a major that keeps you busy on weekends in a way that many of your contemporaries and friends in the rest of the college or the university may not be quite as challenged or busy. You are choosing to make your life harder. You have been choosing to make your life harder for years if you're in this class, right? That means there must be moments in each one of your lives that either have happened already or are going to happen where suddenly you're like, whoa, this is too hard. Am I really cut out for this? Or this is too hard. I am cut out for this, but is this really worth it? Like, really? I'm just smart enough to kind of do this, but I'm smart enough to know that not everybody in life is doing all this. I'm here to tell you it is worth it, and you did make a right choice. Otherwise, I lost my screen share. Excuse me. Hold on one second. Oh, I see. Oh, I see what's happening. Okay. I'll get back to that screen in a second. But I'm here to tell you you did make the right choice, and it is worth it. And for a variety of reasons, and my hat is off to you, and you are doing something particularly hard. It's not you, it's a really hard program, whatever program you're in. But sometimes you hit a wall. Almost everybody who gets through this program has a moment where they're like, I cannot go on, it's not worth it. And there are things to do when you hit that wall to help you go on. We'll talk about them as the semester goes. But wait, chat. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's a nice thing to say. Well, thank you. No, and I mean it. Okay, cool. Oh, not to mention that it's all way harder in COVID. I mean, who are we kidding? Like, if we were really together and we really have this conversation, but we can't even be, all this is even harder in COVID for sure. But it is worth it, people. Like, it is. Okay. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to keep going. All right. So the tools, but thank you. I do, but you know what to say, clearly. Okay, tools, the syllabus is there. You can consult it on your own. The main thing that you might care about is how the grading works, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, then there's the knowing what to do. Then comes a category you can see on my screen. You can't see it on your end, called class notes. You can't see it on your end yet just because there aren't any class notes posted yet. But as of today, the first one will be. And that's the other screen that I was sharing. That's where they go. And you see it. It's just like class notes 13, 12. Well, you can see on my screen. It's just like the class notes of every day. Okay. Then we have homework in this class. We're going to talk about that in a moment. The homework does matter a lot. It does count for a lot, but it's all extra. You'll see, like, it always is meant to benefit you, never to harm you. You do have a homework due on on Tuesday, and then a homework that's due 2 days later on Thursday. We're not going to go through all of them today. You're going to have to just do your best, at least on the first one, but I'm going to set you up to do them today, but I do expect them to be done, or I expect the first one to be done for Tuesday. Okay, then, yeah, you can see this on your side. Then there's the homework game. So there's two kinds of homework: standard physics problem sets that are meant to look like exam problems and help you with the exams directly. And then there's the homework game. It's a game in the two senses. One, that it's a game because it's not really homework. It is your homework to record and reflect on however you participated in class. So we have a homework portal for the couple of minutes that I'm asking you to take every night to submit a quick reflection or reminder or note or record of some way that you participated in class. And then you get points for that the same way that you get points for your regular homework. So there's two types of homework. They both just give you points. All the points go in the same pile, the same big homework pile, but they give you different amounts of points. And I've rescaled the numbers. The numbers were very much like pinball machines last semester. They're a little bit all lower now. But like, so a typical problem set homework, like the actual physics calculation homework that's due on Tuesday, called The Thing on a Spring, that's worth 20 points. Whereas a game turn number 1, which is due at midnight tonight, is worth 5 points. You'll see, if you don't know me already, the game turn number 1 that's due at midnight tonight, it'll take you like literally 10 seconds to do. That's why it's worth less points, but you'll do it every day. So within 4 days, you've already accumulated the same amount of points that it would take you to do all these calculations in the other thing. I'm going to tell you what happens to all those points momentarily, but just suffice to say that every bit of homework you do accumulates points that get added to your average, ultimately, your final average, and help your grade. Okay, then there's a category for exams. We're not up to exams yet. There'll be a midterm and a final. That's it. And then, right, and then there's more homework. Okay, and then I think then there's a bunch of stuff that's just archival for me, but you don't have to worry about. So your Google Classroom hopefully looks somewhat like that. You should know that you have your syllabus, and you should be using the whatever this tab is. What's this tab called? Class work. The class work is the main tab where everything happens. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the other screen now. I think this goes to 1 through. Well, okay, actually, as long as I have this open, I'll tell you. All right. Yeah, all right. Your first homework, your first real sort of physicsy mathematical homework, I'm going to open it now just so you can see it's due. Okay, so it's due this Tuesday. If I didn't do that wrong, it's due Tuesday at 12:15. I'm just open it so you can see. Okay, it looks like this. Okay, so this is your homework sheet that's due Tuesday. Okay, it's 2 pages. It has one set of facts and a diagram at the beginning, a situation. And then it asks you a series of questions about that situation. It asks you 9 questions. They are increasingly difficult. Like the first few should not be that bad. If you remember anything from Physics 203, they get harder and harder as they go. By the 9th question, I'll tell you right now, there's almost no, the 9th question requires a lot of work to get right. A lot of honest work to get right. There's nobody in this room. If you just happen to already automatically know how to do the 9th question, you know a lot. And I don't expect that of anybody. Of course, even the 9th, well, anyway, so the 9th question is very hard. I understand that. It'll take some time and some thought. It might take poking around on the web and trying to get some insight on the web. Or watching Khan Academy or something, or you could even watch some of my old classes. You could watch class number 3 from last semester if you wanted to get a jump start to see how, once I went over it. That is not cheating at all. It actually didn't even occur to me to say that. But if you want to, if you're struggling with this homework and you want like to see how I went over it, I mean, we're going to go over it after you turn it in. But if you want to jump start and watch some old class on it, be my guest. What I want to say to you all now is here's how homework works. Again, some of you know this, and I apologize. Hopefully this is just reinforced, but this is how it works. Like you have this sheet here. It has a fact pattern at the top. It has and a diagram. It has a bunch of questions about the fact pattern that go down. It's about springs. Now, you notice I have not said anything about springs yet today, and I probably won't get to say anything about springs, i.e. this is not meant to be a bunch of exercises to go over this is not to reinforce material that I lay out for you in advance. Like that's sort of like the old style of teaching. What this is telling you, these are what we have. This is what our assignment is, our mission. Some of you might already know how to do it, or at least the beginning of it. Some of you might have notes from a prior class, like Physics 203, depending on who you took. Like you might have studied springs in Physics 1, depending on who your professor was. I don't even remember. If you had me, you probably didn't, and that's fine. If you had someone else, you might have. But this is about springs. You're expected to do whatever you want to try to make the most sense of this. If you understand, I'll give you a big hint right now, like the first. In fact, I might even give you bigger hints. I'll tell you the main equations to use for the first 3 questions is you definitely want to use F net equals MA. And that I think everybody did learn in Physics 1. You're definitely going to want to use F net equals MA, Newton's second law. You'll also want to use this law that some of you don't know and some of you do, called Hooke's law, which is, and I'll say it right now, and I'll probably write it in a minute, but F equals negative KX. That might be new to some of you. It might be old to others of you. F equals negative KX. It's called Hooke's law. Sorry, I'm not writing anything now, but I'm just trying to keep between the 2 screens. It's called Hooke's law. Excuse me. It's the force exerted by a spring, by anything elastic, just like F equals mg is the force exerted by gravity, right? This is the specific law of the specific force that's exerted by any spring whose stiffness is called K, like you'll notice in this problem right here, it says, oh, there's a spring that has a stiffness given by the constant K equals 200 newtons per meter. That means for every meter that you pull out the spring, every meter that you displace the end of the spring from its equilibrium position, the spring will exert 200 newtons of force trying to pull it back. So if you pull the spring out 1 meter from the equilibrium position, 1 meter from zero, from where the spring would normally just like to sit in a relaxed way, if you pulled out the mass 1 meter from there, the spring will pull back with a force of 200 newtons. If you hold the mass out at 2 meters, the spring will exert a force of 400 newtons. Okay, that's what the K number means. That's what the stiffness of the spring means. It's a ratio of how hard the spring pulls per how far you stretch it. So the equation is, I'll say it again, F equals negative K, and you please do write this down. I'm sorry, I'm not writing it right now. I'm just trying to manage the 2 different screens, but write down F equals negative K times X, where K stands for how stiff the spring is. Like the higher that number is, the stronger the spring is, the more force per meter it's exerting. X stands for how far the spring is stretched from its equilibrium position, where we assume that X equals 0, like the diagram is trying to indicate. X equals 0 is where the end of the spring would normally be if nobody was touching it, if nobody was pushing it or pulling it. If it's just sitting there relaxed at equilibrium, we call that edge 0. If you start pulling the spring, if you start displacing the edge some number of meters away from 0, say you start displacing it to the right, as the diagram is indicating, then the spring pulls toward equilibrium back to the left, hence the negative sign. Like the essence of a spring is you try to displace it from equilibrium, the spring will exert a restoring force to bring the spring back to equilibrium. The more you pull, the farther you stretch to the right, the harder the spring will pull to the left. If, on the other hand, you pushed the mass in, which the diagram is indicating you could, right? If this is a really good spring that is extendable but also compressible, if you pushed the mass to the left of its equilibrium position, then the spring would pull to the right. The spring is always trying to yank the mass back to equilibrium position, back to 0. So whichever way you exit, it's going to F in the opposite direction. That's why the law is F equals negative K times X. That's Hooke's law for any spring. What we're ultimately saying is that the force exerted by a spring is not some constant number. It's directly proportional to how far you stretch or compress it. That is what elasticity actually means. That's the essence of something being elastic. That's why you go to the gym and play with exercise equipment that's made of springs, because you want things that are harder to hold as you hold them farther and farther out. You see what I'm saying? It's unlike gravity, like the weight of an object is mg. If I hold an object here above the ground, its weight is mg. You know, if its mass is 2 kilograms, then its weight is like 20 newtons or 19.6 newtons. If I hold a mass higher up from the ground, its weight is still mg, 19.6 newtons. The force that gravity is exerting to pull something to the ground is constant, it's large, approximately constant, independent of position, right? If I were to make a graph of the force as a function of displacement, it would be like a horizontal line. A spring is a diagonal line if I were to make a graph, of force as a function of displacement. The slope of that graph is K, the stiffness of the spring, okay? So F equals negative Kx is the law that governs springs. K is a slope, is a number of newtons per meter that represents how strong the spring is. I would definitely recommend that you use that equation along with F net equals ma to solve the first 3 questions. So by the way, now I feel guilty for not writing that down, but if you just wrote down what I just said and or you replay this video later, I swear I've just told you anything and everything you need to know about springs in order to do this sheet. Like I've just now taught you springs. If you never heard about them before, that's the way to think of a spring is F equals negative Kx is the force exerted by the spring. And then don't forget that always forces produce accelerations, F net equals ma. That's how you would deal with the first 3 questions on the sheet. Then the 4th question, I'll give you a big hint right now. The 4th question You won't be able to use forces or accelerations anymore, because if you're thinking through everything, you'll notice once you do the first 3 questions, and I know I'm going fast now, and I apologize. And I'm going to get back to what I was saying before a minute ago about what I will ultimately want to tell you is how not to stress about the homework. Don't overly worry about the grade or whatever. We'll talk about that. But you do have to do the homework, and you will be due Tuesday. So these are, even if I'm going a little faster, and I'm just giving you major tips and tricks and hints of how to do it. It's understood that you're supposed to try the homework on your own first, and then we all go over it together after the fact. And you will have time to correct and resubmit and so forth like that. I will talk about that. But in order to do it, my hints, at least for this first one, is it's going to be about F equals negative KX and F equals MA for the first 3 questions. By the time you get to the 4th question, you'll still try to do F equals MA for a little while, but then you'll notice, if you're paying attention to what you're doing, and if you're paying attention to me right now, you'll notice, oh, wait, F equals negative KX, that means the force is changing every spot. Like, that's really what it means to be a spring. The spring is pulling tighter and tighter, harder and harder as we get it farther and farther out. So the force is changing every way. Therefore, the acceleration is changing. Someone's here, sorry. Therefore, the acceleration, I'm giving away a lot by saying this, but therefore the acceleration is changing every spot. So even though you might be tempted at first for question 4 to do some old acceleration equation from physics 1, like a equals v minus v naught over t, or you might be tempted to do like a equals v squared minus v naught squared over 2x or something like that. Notice the acceleration is not constant. So all of our constant acceleration equations that we did at the beginning of physics 203, still very true, still very useful in life, in physics, but not so useful here, because here we have a situation where acceleration and forces are changing all the time. So what you have to think about from question 4 on is energy. And that you have to think about energy conservation in order to solve questions 4 sort of on. And for some of you, that might mean looking at your old notes from physics 1. For some of you, you might have to go on the web, Khan Academy, whatever, or old lectures and see how does energy work. We're all going to go over this and talk about it Tuesday, I promise you. But in order to get off the ground, I'm just, you try your best and see what you can come up with and see where you're strong or weak in the area of energy conservation. I'm just telling you, you're definitely going to need to use energy conservation to solve problem 4 and 5. Then 6 and 7 and 8 are more thought questions. You can sort of use your intuition. Well, they're based on 4 and 5. But they won't be heavily mathematical. Then 9 is super hard, and just do your best, like do as much thought as you can, as like try to step back and look at all your results from the first 8 questions, write as much as you can. You may well get question 9. I would rather you get question 9 wrong, or you leave something incomplete about it, than cheat. Meaning you can go all over the web and you can find out as much as you want to find out to learn, to get help with 9, and you can talk to other people, but don't then only write down things you understand. Don't find things on the web that seem true, but you don't understand them, and then just write them down. That's what I would consider cheating. But you can find whatever you want from the web, and if it helps you, once you understand it, then you can write it down. Now, I'm going a little bit all over the place here. So, but this homework is due. So this homework that I'm sharing the screen right now is due Tuesday. You're going to do your best on this homework, and you're going to turn it in. Again, many of you already know the procedure. What I want to make clear to everybody is when I say do the homework, this is what I mean by doing it. This is the homework sheet. Don't do your work on this sheet. There's no room for that. There's no room for you to think straight. There's no room for you to write legibly. There's no room for me to read your work. Don't write on this sheet. What you're going to do is take out fresh blank sheets of paper, either real life paper, or you're going to open up a doc like on your computer, whichever you're more comfortable with. You're going to separately answer like on your own paper, answer the questions to this sheet. What you're going to do is make every question super clear. This is where I do get a little bit surprisingly strict. You're going to label each question. Like, okay, so here's, first of all, you should make a diagram and you should write down the basic facts. Like, you should write down the givens in your way. Show me that you understand what the given information is. You should make your own diagram. Even if you think you're copying this diagram, fine. But even copying it, copy by hand, don't like copy paste it. You should provide a diagram. You should provide the fact. Then you write like question 1 And you don't copy paste my question, and you don't have to write out all the words that I used in the question, but in your own words, write something to make it clear what the question is. Like you could just literally say force equals question mark, or F equals question mark, or better, like see, notice how the question says, what is the force exerted by the spring on the mass at the instant it is released? The instant is released is what we generally in physics call, I mean, that's the instant that the experiment begins. That's the instant that you're paying attention begins. So that's time equals 0. So you could write something for question 1, like, yeah, okay, I'm going to switch screens right now. Actually, hold on. I'll go back just to show you, like, again, some of you know this, but some of you don't. When I say hand in the homework, what I mean is you hand in a fresh piece of paper, you're going to do something like, be nice for you to put your name on the piece of paper too, but you don't actually have to, as long as you submit it to the correct Google Classroom portal, because the name is taken care of, and it doesn't matter what the file name is or anything like that. But you're going to write something like this, and then you're going to say like you make your own diagram. Whoops, sorry. Oh, I'm not sharing the screen. I'm sorry. Hang on. Okay, so you're going to do something like this. Okay, now, truth be told, I just did the first one for you. I didn't quite mean to do that, but I just did the first one for you of the homework, but I'm doing it to show you all what I'm looking for in the homework. What you're ultimately going to see is, I don't care if you get the answer right or wrong, but I'm looking for this kind of formatting. I want you to give me, and this, I will also admit to people that have had me before, I got stricter and stricter about this during the summer. Like the more I realized, and partly for grading purposes, what I'm looking for everybody is, and obviously this is just number 1. Then you would continue on to the next sheet, number 2, number 3, etc. Oh, so first, let me say, you would just keep going like this. So you would either on regular piece of paper, you'd be writing this out the way I am, totally fine, or you'd be typing this all into a Google Docs if you're comfortable typing in mathy things into, or typing it into a Word doc and making it PDF, whatever. But you would have a diagram. You would be, notice what I'm doing here. You're making it absolutely clear what question you're on, like it says question 1, and you're saying the question, like in your own words, like at t equals 0, f equals what? Like you're not copying and pasting my question. You're making it clear that you know what the question is. Then you're showing work, and specifically, even on this first question, and I did get it right here, like you can copy this, it's fine. But notice that even this seemingly sort of easy question, which is kind of just a quick plug and chug to the equation that I said, even here I have a couple of lines of work. Like it's asking for F. So first I put a general statement about F that is generally true, that is in fact a law or a definition. Like before I plug in anything or do any numbers, I say, oh, well, in general, F equals negative KX. Then I apply it to this situation. Oh, well, here, K is 200, X is 0.15, at least at T equals 0. So then I plug in the numbers and then I solve for F. Even this, I could have maybe added a couple more steps of explanation. But notice you start with the question, you go to a general statement of truth or of law or of definition, generally does not have numbers in it. You postpone the numbers as long as possible. You eventually apply to the particular situation with the particular numbers. Then you get an answer and you circle it or highlight it or box it or whatever. And just notice here that even for this first question, it is clear what the question is. The question is what is F? And then I have an answer that is an answer for F. And it's in F units. It's for force, so it has units of newtons. This is what I want to see when I say what hand in the homework. I want to be able to, the standard here is, and I think I did use this with this class, but I'm warning people again, I got even stricter about this in 204 during the summer. When you hand in homework, and especially exams, I want you to give me a document that I can follow without looking at anything else. Like you're using my homework sheet to answer these questions, but you're ultimately giving answers that are complete enough and independent enough that they can be read on their own as an independent document. Like I could hand this sheet to Professor Walters or any other person, or Professor Liu or Wu or anybody who knows physics. They wouldn't have to know what the homework is to be able to look at this and go, oh yeah, oh, okay. Oh, I see. Oh no, that's wrong. That's right. Oh, that's right. That's right. You see what I mean? It's an independent piece of physics. That's what you want to give me to count as homework. Now, what you would do here is you would have a bunch of pages, right? You'd like answer all 9 questions. It'd be a bunch of pages. If it were handwritten pages, you would then scan all those pages in and make one file out of it. Like either use a scanner or whatever, or if you just want to take your phone and take a picture of each individual page, that's fine. But then you've got like 9, say you did 9 pages of work. Then you're going to have like 9 JPEGs. Do not submit 9 or GIFs or whatever. Do not submit 9 separate photographs to me and call it one homework assignment. Even if you take 9 photographs of 9 pages, then at the very least, open up a fresh Word doc, insert one picture on the first page, the next picture on the next page, and now you have one big document that consists of 9 different pages. Then print that out as a PDF, if you know what I mean. Like convert that into a PDF or a Google Doc and submit that one file, that one document as your homework assignment. Okay, like that's the procedure for submitting homework. Again, some of you know it, some of you don't. That's what I'm looking for, though. I want, when I get it to, and I'm going to grade it on this tablet thing here that I use on, the screen that I'm sharing. I grade it with a stylus. So I want to be able to sit down and go through your homework and make comments without having to look at anything else. I want it to be clear to me what it is on its own. Again, you don't actually have to put your name on it because that will be part of the Google Classroom portal, but it's an independent work of which you're proud. So you'll submit that. You're going to go through all of, like I just started you off and actually gave you, I think, a lot of knowledge of how to do it. But you're going to get to questions on homework 1 that you don't necessarily, that you're going to have to look things up, and that's fine. You're going to make mistakes. That's fine. But address every single question. Make it clear that you know what the question is. By the time you get to 9, which is hard, you might write what the question is. Then you might get stuck somewhere. Go as far as you can, but then make it as clear as you can where you're stuck. Like, well, I'm doing this and doing that, but now I don't know how to solve this type of thing, or I don't know what this word means. Well, then my recommendation is maybe you want to look that up. But if you can't, you can't. Just say that. But then give me an answer, even if you think it's totally wrong. Like, make it clear that you know what kind of answer you're looking for. I'll tell you right now, question 9 is looking for a position. Question 9, it sounds very simple, but it's hard to solve. It's asking, where will the mass be at t equals 1 second? So you're looking for a where. You're looking for an x measured in meters. Even if you think you're getting the whole thing wrong or don't know what to do, give me, like, my final answer would look like this: x equals meters, and box that, just to show me that you know what, like, that you have bookends, you have a beginning and you have an end, and you just don't know how to fill in the middle. Okay, you're going to submit all that for Tuesday. Some of you will have work for every single one. you'll do the format correctly for every single one. And even if all your answers are wrong, if you have work for every single question, if you show your work and you have a clear question and you have a clear boxed answer, you're going to get all the points right away, all 20 points. Before this class is over, I have to explain where all those points go. But some of you will just do the whole thing. You'll turn it in Tuesday before 12:15. You'll get it back like in the next couple of days, and you'll get all 20 points. And the 20 points will count into your average. Others of you might only, for whatever reason, like I don't care if things are wrong or right, but you might leave a couple blank. Not my recommendation, but you might run out of time or something like that. You might leave a couple of blank or just give up on a couple, but then the rest you did fine. So maybe you don't get a 20, maybe you'll get a 12 out of 20. Let me explain right now to be clear. Or say you get a 15 out of 20, right? That's not a 75%. That's not like I'm then averaging that with other things and now you have a C. No, if you get 15 out of the 20 points on this homework, that means you just got 15 homework points out of an available 20, but you just got 15 homework points. They're going into your pile. There are 5 left that you still didn't get. You can still totally get them. All you have to do is like in the next day, hand in the rest. Or if you made big errors or I said you didn't do this the way I asked, fix that. Like you can resubmit the next day for the rest of the points. You can even if I go over the whole thing the next day and now you get it, as long as you're being honest to yourself, to me, to your maker, whatever, to your quarks and electrons, as long as you're being honest, you do your first attempt first. And then if you are learning things from the class as we go over it, good. That means you're learning things from the class. You go back and fix the homework and you'll get the rest of the points. In other words, every homework is like a rough draft and you can just keep doing it until you get all the points. And you really can. And yes, I will see how many drafts you're doing and if it starts coming in like a week later, I'll see that. Google Classroom will say it's late. I'm not going to mark you late unless I like really tell you we're really running out of time here. I'm not going to mark you late. If it really gets that late, I'm just going to remove the link and you won't be able to submit anymore. But you just keep submitting until you can get all the points is what I'm telling all of you. You want to try to make a first attempt on time so I can see that, so we can all see that we're keeping in pace with the course, and it'll just make your life much easier to do that. But I want to make it clear right now that homework is about eventually getting it. Don't worry about making mistakes the first time. You can always resubmit. You can always correct them. And your homework points will just go up and up. They'll never go down. Okay. And they're not percentages. They're just accumulations that you're trying to get. You're just trying to get as much physics by the end of the semester as you can, or give me as much physics as you can. And therefore you're trying to get as many points as you can. Okay. So homework works like that. I'm expecting you to try your best and hand in this homework for Tuesday. I can also predict to you right now, those of you who don't get a full 20 on it will probably be because you didn't totally understand what I'm talking about in terms of formatting or something. Most likely, if you don't get a 20, it'll be because you didn't make the questions clear. Like the biggest common error is I need you to make the questions clear before you dive in and start answering them. Before you even show work, make each question clear so that I can understand it without any side reference. That if you do that, you probably will get all the points the first shot and we'll all move on. But that's due Tuesday. Okay, this thing on the spring thing is due Tuesday. Again, it's understood. I've just taught you in 10 minutes what I want you to know for it. Try your best. That's for Tuesday. But then, and I've got 11 minutes. I still need to tell you where all those homework points go, what happens with them. But before I do that, let me also tell you that there's this other type of homework called the game homework. That is a portal in which, or that's a system by virtue of which you keep a record or self-reflection, self-acknowledgement of your participation in this class. Each day of class is a turn. Today is day 1 of class. We have turn 1. It's due it by midnight tonight, by 11:59 tonight, meaning you're expected to do it sometime after class today. Okay, I'll even pull that up. If you look, and again, I know some of you already know this. I'm sorry, but we're almost done with the boring stuff. But I can really just tell all you all that all the systems are the same as last semester, but the material is harder. So you want to like buckle your seatbelts a little bit and the more you can stay tuned with me, and the more you can do these daily assignments, the better you'll do. And I will tell all of you, I think I honestly, I think I was pretty good about getting these back to you fast last semester. I think most of you did get, but I did fall apart with the exam, which was bad. That won't happen this semester. What I'm really trying to say is the grading, what am I trying to say? The grading system is what it was, but it's sort of even more tightened up and more rigorous than it was last semester. So, and it worked every day. People got very good grades in 204 last semester, even though they all did terrible on the midterm. So, you know, whatever you understood about the system carried over to now. But anyway, what I'm saying to everybody is if you notice, we also have tonight, we have this due, right? If, oh, wait, I'm not sharing the screen. Sorry. Oh, chat, sorry. Professor Uterbium, right? I've never literally been called that, but you're welcome to call me that. Yeah, because you see the YB, right? That's very cool. You're the first person that ever noticed that, actually, or publicly acknowledged it anyway. And I know we have 9 minutes. We're almost done with all this boring stuff, but so notice you also have this whole game portal. Tonight is turn 1. So what you do here, like it says here, but what you're going to do here, you can do this straight into Google Classroom. Like if you're seeing the teacher side, not the student side, but if you're a student, you can literally open up a fresh doc right here in the portal, wherever it allows you, you know, when it says create doc or something, you can open up a fresh Google Doc and type right in. And all I'm asking you to do here is type like one sentence saying, today I said hello, or today I put in the chat, yes, you pronounced my name correctly. Or today I put in the chat, yes, we have lab at Thursday night or whatever. Or today I used my voice to correct your name pronunciation. Just any, and by the way, most of you already did say hello and thank you, and that counts. If you didn't do anything yet today at all, if you didn't even say hello, just write hello in the chat right now, and that counts, okay? But just any way that you participated at all today, including saying hello, you're just gonna jot it down here in a fresh stick. Don't put it in the comments. Like, don't put it as a note below to me. Like, I don't want a separate email, which is what will happen. Just open up a doc, take one, you don't even have to put your name on it because it's all automatic. Just open up a doc and say, today in class, I said hello. Ideally, you might even also insert a screenshot there, or you might just insert a screenshot and just like, you know, mark up the screenshot. It's totally casual. It should take you like 15 seconds once you get used to this. But this is just a moment where you remind me or you acknowledge to me some way that you participated, any way at all. And if you do that and you're turning it to me, then I'm going to just put a check mark on it and say thanks and send it back to you. And then you're going to get 5 points for that. And you do this every day. Every day is just a moment to ask you to reflect on how you participated, for you to remind me. And it is a reminder, like I'll remember, I'll know that you don't have to prove it, although it's nice and helpful after a while to have a screenshot. But like, especially if it was an interesting question, I'll know whether you're lying or not. Just tell me, and then I send this right back and get to 5 points. Notice a big homework is worth like 20. This is worth like 5, but they all add up in the end. And like 4 of these will equal 20. Let me just going to chat real quick. Okay. Yeah, now. Okay, now, very fair question in the private chat. So things are right. So in the chat, do these have an actual deadline? I mean, the fast answer is yes. Okay. With these turns, what I'm asking everybody with these turns is I really do try to just, they're due midnight of the night that we have the class. They really only take a couple of minutes. So please try to just hand it in that day. If you handed this in tomorrow or the next day because you have a job, you go to work tonight or something, that's fine. But what I am asking all of you, there's one of these every day. It's supposed to be a moment where you reflect on the class that day. So yes, a little bit unlike last semester, I was a little looser about these last semester, and I'm totally loose about the regular homeworks, but these shouldn't pile up. There's no reason for you guys to let 2 weeks go by and then retro send me 4 of these. That's a little confusing to me. And it's a little disingenuous for you, because part of the point is every day after class, just have a moment of check-in and self-reflection. So please, now, if you weren't in class or you didn't say anything, then just don't turn it in. It's not going to count against you. It's just that you just won't get those points. So I am actually asking you not to let these pile up. Please do just turn these in. I mean, if they're a day later saying it's fine, but don't, by the time the next one is assigned, don't like start retroing them, please. Even though, yes, that's a little different from last semester. It's a fair question. But yes, you totally, here's a good question in the private chat, and I'm watching the time. I know we only have 5 minutes left, but a question in the private chat is, can you just like screenshot the chat Can you just screenshot the part of the chat where you said hello and then just put the screenshot in this? Yes, you can, especially if you make it big enough that I can tell that it's you doing that. Like, yes, you totally can. You don't even really need an explanation. And you can do this right after class. Ideally, you do just do it right after class. And ideally, it takes 2 minutes. You honestly, you could even do it during class if you've already said something and you follow what I'm saying. Right. Once you get in the habit, it's really fast. And that's why I'm sort of asking you, don't fall behind with these. There's no point. But yeah, you could just throw a screenshot and boom. Now, one thing about there was a private chat question about like the deadlines of this. So these, whenever it says turn, it literally is what I just described. Every class is like the next class is turn 2. Then the class after that is turn 3. And it's always the same. Just any way you participate, just throw it in and just tell me. And then you get the full 5 points. But you'll notice that there's also, and I may have to, yes, right. Oh, very fair point also. I'm trying to respect the time because you guys got places to go and da-da-da-da-da. So right when it's 1:30, I want to let you all go like you're supposed to, but I will hang out. I'm not going to just turn off my screen. I'll hang out and answer any questions. I just want to be done with my spiel by 1:30. But yeah, if you have questions or something, you can hang out for a minute after class. Absolutely. Yes, good point. But let me just race through this. So these, I hope it's clear. So like you have your regular physics homework due next Tuesday. That will take you some time to do. And you totally can work together. You should work together. You can use whatever resources again to try to solve that other thing. Just don't write down anything you don't understand. That's all. And then for this, you don't need anybody else. It'll take you 2 minutes. You just pop it in. But also notice that there are these other game things, like those are the game terms. But then there's other things like game video, game avatar, game for right or for wrong. Those are due October 1st. This is a little different from last semester. Those you have more time on. Those are, and none of this is mandatory. All this is just for extra points. But those are for any extra special ways that you participate, such as if you showed video at all today, ideally you took a screenshot for a minute, but even if you didn't, I'll believe you. If you showed video at all today, then even if that's what you wrote in the other thing, even if you wrote, yeah, professor, today I participated by showing video and you submitted that, you totally can and should double dip. If you actually showed video, you should put that in the portal here, like open up this thing that says video. Oh, sorry, I just did it. Open up the video thing. Put a little doc in there that just said, I showed video today. Ideally, show me a screenshot there of you showing video. That just makes it easier. But again, I probably will remember and turn that in. Notice this thing is due a few more points. It's due like 8 or 9 points or something. And just do that once. As long as you showed video once, pop it in there once. And it could be any time before October 1st. October 1st, I'll put up another portal so that you can do it again or whatever. And so there's all kinds of things like this, and we'll just keep putting more up, like avatars. If you showed any kind of picture or even just the first letter of your name, if you showed anything other than a black box, you pop it in there and you get points for that. You don't have to do it every time. And if you didn't do it, just don't do it. But so these are just to encourage you and to reward you for the different ways you could participate. Then you see one that says speak now or forever hold your chat. That means anytime you ever use your voice, just tell me, I used my voice when I asked that question about your mother marrying her cousin, whatever. And you don't have to prove that. If you remind me what you said, I'll remember, but just remind me, submit it there, you get those points. You see, so anything that's due October 1st, anything that doesn't say turn is like extra special rewards for, and they're open to anybody. And there'll be more and more put in there as I think of them. But they're just so any way that you participate, some of you are quieter than others, but some of you don't mind sharing screens. There'll be a portal open for that, okay? So those you don't have to turn in tonight. Those you just turn in whenever they happen, okay? Last, I've got 1 minute. 1 minute, where all these points, well, since I only have 1 minute, I'm going to, remember, I will share this. I will put this in Google Classroom, but just quick thing on the grading. Again, some of you know this, but yeah, very quick with 1 minute. We have a midterm, we have a final exam, we have a final lab grade. Like you do all this work in lab and then it all accumulates to one final lab grade. I assume your professor is Professor Wu. Those 3 numbers get averaged together in the traditional way to make one base grade. Possibly I weight one that you did better on more. We'll talk about that. But basically those 3 things get averaged together to get one base grade at the end of the semester. Then all the points that you accumulate in all of the homeworks all put together, all of them make a big pile. They're all divided by some scaling factor because the pile will be way more than 100 points. You'll all have way more than 100 points. It's divided by some scaling factor. I know it's 130. Just let me finish the sentence and then we're good. It's all divided by a scaling factor that's the same scaling factor for every single student. I mean, every student will have a different pile of points, obviously, and every student will have a different base average. But I scale all the points by something. So say the scaling factor this semester is 30, that I divide by 30, then and say you have 300 homework points and game points all accumulated. I divide that by 30, like I divide by the same by everybody's, but say you have 300, it's divided by 30. So now you have 10. That means 10 points is added on to your base average that just got calculated by those other documents, right? And that's literally 10. And that is a typical number. Typically, people will have like 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 points added to their test average to make their final grade. That's how the grading works. You have your base grade from those 3 numbers, midterm, final, lab, and then you get anywhere from 8 to 14 points, depending on how much homework you did, added on. So every one of these participation things, every homework that you ever handed is just points that go into that pile that then get scaled appropriately and get added onto your grade. It's designed to make sure that by doing homework and doing that stuff, you could change your grade by a full letter grade at least. Like you could have a B average on the exams, but by doing all this work, you could get an A in the class. By the way, conversely, if you get an A on if you get an A on the midterm and you get an A on the final and you get an A in the lab, I don't care if you never do a stitch of homework, and maybe neither do you. You can get an A either way, and people do. That's all I have to say today. I look forward very much to meeting you all on Tuesday. I'll post this in Google Classroom, these notes. I'll post the video tonight. Anybody wants to stay and ask a question, I'm here. I'm not racing off, but I'm just saying you guys are good. You can go. I thank you very much, and I'll see you Tuesday. Thank you, and have a great weekend. Yes, thank you. All right, and I'm going to wait for questions, but I'm also going to turn off the recording before the questions. I always forget to use. So if you have a question, hang out for a second. Thank you. It's great to see you guys again. Yes, have a great weekend. Let me just turn off the recording before anybody asks a question, but goodbye. Thank you very much.